Whaaat Media Network proudly presents a weekly exploration of various spiritual practices with renowned spiritual authors, coaches, teachers, and Dr. Tracy Brown, RScP.
And now, here's Tracy.
Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here. It's Tuesday. It's 12:01 p.m. Mountain Time. That means it's time for poetry, prayer, and practice. Yeah. So I'm having second thoughts about today's show. And it's too late, right? It's too late to change the plan, which was actually a revised plan in itself. So I guess I need to want to and can in this moment decide to just go with it, because what I'm going to do today is truly following an internal, intuitive, inspirational whoosh. And now my brain is going like, Tracy, do you really want to do that? Like, Tracy, you've never done that before. Well, Tracy, is that a good idea? So has that ever happened to you? Like, you are following your intuition and then your brain tries to yell over the whisper that spirit has given you? That's what's happening for me in this moment. And together we are going to work through that. And I know, at least in my life, one of the best ways to work through, like, getting out of my head and moving into that which I am pretty sure is being directed by spirit, is to just do it. So today we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about the spiritual principles that lead us to wealth, that lead us to prosperity, that reveal the ongoing, always happening expansion of the energy that brings us success and manifests the law of attraction. We are going to talk about what's behind the mindset and the belief that leads to financial freedom. But instead of talking about it in a way that is super structured, we're going to bypass some of that, some of the resistance that we might have to structure or lecture. And I had this inspiration. What I was getting ready to say was this wild, crazy idea, but isn't that often how spirit shows up? It's like, I never would have thought of that. I had this inspiration about 20 minutes before show time. So I didn't have time to really analyze it and think about it. And so the inspiration was, Tracy, go to your bookshelf and pull down a dozen or so books that relate to wealth mindset, money, the spiritual principle behind financial freedom. Just go pull a dozen books off the shelf and open them on random pages and see what they have to say. That's what you're supposed to share today. Okay, and I did that. I pulled, I don't know, more than a dozen books. I'm looking at the stack on, beside me. And I'm going to just pick up a book, open it, with the exception of the first book. After that, I'm going to pick up the book and open it to a random page, a page where maybe I have something highlighted, or a totally random page, and read a little bit and then see what that has to say to us about our money mindset. So, how did all of this get started? This morning, late last night, early this morning, I was reflecting on my day yesterday. And there was a client that I work with, that I have a 1 year contract with, right? And so it's a retainer client. I'm paid a specific amount every month to do the things that we've committed together to work on. And yesterday, I realized or over the weekend, I realized that I had not sent them an invoice in January, February, or March. And now we're in April. And there was a part of my brain that was saying, wow, look at your prosperity mindset. Like, you haven't even missed the fact that you haven't received money from them in 3 months. And there was a part of my brain that was like, see, Tracy, there you go, sabotaging yourself again. You haven't billed for this money. You've been doing all this work for them. And what? Is this an unworthiness issue? Do you think you're not worthy of getting paid for the work that you do? I mean, really, what is that all about? And there was a third part of my brain that was saying, Tracy, it is time for you to recharge your prosperity consciousness, because you're like taking it for granted, right? You're taking it for granted. And maybe this would be a good time to just, do a little tune up around prosperity, around money, because like for you to not even have that on your radar, sure, you haven't been struggling, but you look at your bank account balance and it's lower than it's supposed to be, and it's all your fault. Like, you need to make sure the invoices get sent, not just do the work. And so that was late last night, early this morning. And I was kind of in my subconscious thinking, how do I want to do that? Do I want to do some reading? Do I want to go have a minister or a practitioner do a prayer treatment? What affirmations, might I use? Do I need to do fear to faith process to see if I'm harboring some unconscious fear? I was just thinking about that, and I already had something else planned for today's show. And then 20 minutes before the show, it's like, this show is going to be about money. This show is going to be about money, because if you are going to be doing this for yourself, there is probably at least one other person out there who also can benefit. So I decided that after I pulled all these books off the shelf, looked at the clock and said, okay, now we have about 10 minutes before the show. I said, well, Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics is always a good place to start. I know it is one of the books that I often go to when I am refreshing or expanding my consciousness around the flow of money and around maintaining and building or expanding prosperity. And so we're going to start with Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. If you're not familiar with it, the subtitle is The Principles and Process of True Prosperity. And this is a classic. And I have so many different things highlighted in this book, but we're going to pull some quotes from um, the pages in this version. I have another hard copy version, but in this paperback version, pages 148 to 151 or 152. So on page 148, Eric Butterworth reminds us of this. People are often quick to quote scripture, money is the root of all evils. Actually, this is the most misquoted of all Bible passages. What Paul really said is the love of money is the root of all evils. First Timothy 6, verse 10. Money is innocent. It is the love of money, the consciousness in which you use money. That is the cause of much limitation. And you could turn it around and say, the right attitude toward money is a root of all kinds of prosperity. End quote. Do you love that? Like if we just turned that around, if we understood we were talking about the consciousness with which we use money and turned around the misquoted scripture, instead saying, quote, the right attitude toward money is a root of all kinds of prosperity, end quote. And then he goes on to give a lot of examples. It is just such a misquotation of the Bible that has given rise to the confused dualism about money in the religions of the Western world. On the one hand, riches have been condemned as dangerous to man's spiritual growth, while on the other hand, churches have needed money for their support and have welcomed the affluent. On the one hand, subjecting them to sermons about the evils of wealth, and on the other hand, expecting them to make substantial gifts that subsidize the church programs. How can money at one and the same time be a sought after necessity of life and yet be a handicap to one's spiritual growth? How can money be evil when no one, not even people of God, can do without it? Money supported Albert Schweitzer in the steaming jungles of Africa, where he labored unselfishly for the natives. Gandhi, in his extreme poverty, going about the land of India with his loincloth and a little spinning wheel, giving the image of abject poverty, required a lot of money to care for him and his entourage. One of his followers said, it takes an awful lot of money to keep Gandhi living in poverty. Even Jesus and his disciples were supported by money. This aspect of his ministry is rarely considered, since Jesus has been given the image of a magic worker who would simply pull money out of the air. In the 8th chapter of Luke, there is a very revealing phrase, quote, certain women ministered unto him of their substance. Luke 8, verses 2 through 3. What could be clearer than that some of his followers were women of means who simply paid much of the expenses? Jesus clearly accepted his fiscal responsibility. Note how he agreed to pay the Roman head tax that had been levied on his group. He instructed Peter, the fisherman, to go to the sea and catch a fish in the mouth of which he would find a gold coin. Traditionalists have viewed this as one of the great miracles of the Bible, seemingly abrogating the economic process. This is an excellent example of the need to understand the contemporary use of idiom and metaphor in order to make an accurate translation from one language and culture to another. In clearly identifiable idiomatic language, Jesus was saying to Peter, go out and bring in a catch of fish, sell it in the marketplace, and you will have sufficient money to pay the tax. So I love this reminder. And on page 151, Butterworth also writes, money is not real wealth at all. Rather, it is a device for measuring wealth. And lower on the same page, he writes, money is an enabling symbol. It is a tangible representation of intangible universal substance. Money is an enabling symbol that gives rise to faith and trust, credit and cooperation, which starts a flow of activity. And then one of my favorite highlighted quotes that I used to use a lot as an affirmation, and maybe it will be again now that I'm going into a very focused practice for the next week or two. But this is one of the affirmations I just love. On page 152 in this version of Spiritual Economics, Eric Butterworth recommends this affirmation. Money is good. Money is God in action. Say it with me. Money is good. Money is God in action. Again, money is good. Money is God in action. So we're going to start this little experiment with Eric Butterworth, Spiritual Economics, reminding us of some basics, automatically breaking the misquotation of the Bible scripture, and then reminding us that money is God in action. It is a symbol, and it is a tool, and it is a resource. So if you just joined in, what's happening today is something that has never been done before by Tracy Brown. I mean, someone else may have done it, but I've never just at random grabbed a bunch of books off the shelf, and I will be opening them at random to see what they remind us of in terms of our spiritual grounding around money, wealth, financial freedom, around prosperity. And we're going to see what a variety of people have to say and just kind of take all of that in, think about it, contemplate it, use it over the next week. And then next week, we'll dive more deeply. And I'll be sharing what insights I've had from pulling all of these readings and reflecting on them. And I hope that you will come hang out next Tuesday at noon Mountain Time and share some of the insights you have had as well in the chat. So the second reference I am going to go to is Mary Ann Williamson. Her book, The Law of Divine Compensation, is another one of my favorites. And I have lots highlighted here, but I just happen to have the inner flap on this page in the section on positivity. And I don't know if that's just because the last time I was reading this book, that is where I'd stopped reading. Like maybe that was just the bookmark, or if I have it there because of some other reason. So I'm just going to start at the bottom of that page. Native Americans recognized that wherever there was a poison in the forest, an antidote to the poison could be found within several feet. Usually, what we're looking for is on some level right in front of us. The universe is wired to give us what we need, yet we have to show up for the experience of life with a positive attitude in order to experience its gifts. I've known people who seem to think that waking up in the morning, driving to work, and showing up at their desk would be enough. Well, it's not. Our attitude, our willingness to bring all our emotional, psychological, material, and intellectual resources to a job makes all the difference. It's not just what a job brings to us that matters, but what we bring to a job. I'll do whatever it takes. And yes, even sometimes I'm willing to do windows, is the attitude of a winner, not a loser. And she tells a story then about Jonathan. Jonathan saw carpentry as somehow beneath him, not recognizing what seemed to be an obvious gift that had been laid in front of him. His succeeding as a carpenter would not limit his possibilities as a musician. Carpentry was a way to make money, pay off his bills, and have some cash so he could support himself while he pursued whatever dreams were in his heart. By disparaging his own work, he was limiting the possibilities in front of him. That shift in perception would be his miracle. It doesn't matter whether we're contributing to the universe as a carpenter or as a musician, a teacher or an artist, a janitor or a caretaker, a parent or a salesperson. What matters is our consciousness while we are doing it, our willingness to be of service in whatever way is presented, seeing nothing as either above us or beneath us, yet important because it's in front of us. We should never say yes or no to anything without reflection and contemplation. For the higher purpose of a situation is not always obvious, but it is always there. In a universe where God's handwriting is everywhere, we never have to worry that life will lead us away from our greater good. It will always lead us into our greater good as we proactively and positively bring it to the fullness of ourselves. Whew, I don't know. Did that make any sense to you around prosperity, around the mindset, around what we have to do in order to tap into the money being God in action? For me, it really does. It makes that connection of every talent we have, everything that is presented to us gives us the opportunity. So, in that story or that example of Jonathan saying, yeah, I'm a good carpenter, but I don't want to do that. I want to be a musician. It's like, oh, use carpentry to lay the foundation for delivering your dream, right? I know so many people who are professional speakers who worked, other jobs to lay their financial foundation. Plus, they were getting the experiences that gave them the stories they now tell from the platform. And so they may not have loved everything about the jobs they had or the career they built before they went full time into speaking, but it wasn't a mistake. And the people I know who have used that best are the people who did not complain right? About, well, maybe I didn't love that so much, or they will say now, maybe I didn't love it so much. I always knew I wanted to do something bigger, but I really appreciate the fact that it paid for my house. It put my children through college, and now, or created the funds that are in the bank now to put my children through college. And now I am living the life of my dream. And so I love that Marianne Williamson in The Law of Divine Compensation reminds us that divine compensation is related to money, but it's also related to, or is the result of, us using the talents and the gifts that we have. What about you? I mean, is there a way that in your life there are things that you needed to do to prepare yourself or to sustain yourself to get you to maybe the point where you are now doing something that you really love? Okay, I'm going to go to the stack because I do have more than a dozen books, and we want to see how many we can grab a quote from or a reading from in the time that we have today. And so, yeah, let's look at this one. This is a really tiny little booklet called The Way to Wealth. And maybe you don't think of Benjamin Franklin as one of your spiritual guides, but this little booklet is like, it's really tiny, right? It's small and it's 30 pages. And I don't think I have anything highlighted in it. I do not. So we're going to do random page. We're not going to do that because that's just telling us about the book. Okay, random page. Ooh, and the side chapter title or section title, frugality. Frugality. If you're like me, you had to learn to be frugal. And there was a stage in my life when I just wanted what I wanted. And if I could afford it, great. If I couldn't quite afford it, I had a credit card. And it was like everything wasn't immediate gratification. There were a lot of things that it was delayed gratification, but it wasn't about being frugal to get it. I'm not that way anymore, but there was a time in my life where I was. And so this section on frugality, yeah, it's too long to go through the whole section, but let's see how it starts. Frugality. Quote, so much for industry, my friends, and attention to one's own business. But to these we must add frugality if we would make our industry more certainly successful. A person may, if they know not how to save as they get, keep their nose all their life to the grindstone and die not worth a groat at last. A fat kitchen will maketh a lean will, and many estates are spent in the getting, since women for tea forsook spinning and knitting, and men for punch forsook hewing and splitting. If you would be wealthy, think of saving as well as getting. The Indies have not made Spain rich because her outgoes are greater than her incomes. Away then with your expensive follies, and you will not have then so much reason to complain of hard times, heavy taxes, and chargeable families. For women and wine, game and deceit make the wealth small and the want great. Okay, so this is written, right, in the language or in the vernacular of Benjamin Franklin's time. And so it may be a little challenging to translate because we are no longer in the mid 1700s. But hopefully you were able to grasp some of what he was talking about, right? That it's not just being busy and it's not just spending to get what you want, but the frugal person, the person who saves a portion of what he makes, is going to avoid being stuck in a place where they will complain about hard times, heavy taxes, and the other big challenges. So, yes, I learned that lesson the hard way. Yeah. But you don't have to. So let's go from the mid 1700s to a much more recent time. And as I reach over on my right hand side, another little booklet, Grow Yourself, Grow Your Wealth, Prosperity Practices for Faith and Focus by Reverend Karen Russo. And the same thing, even though I have read through this little booklet, about 45 or 50 pages. I've read through this several times. I haven't actually written in it. So we are going to just see what happens. Oh, I like this on page 15. At the top, the heading is, what are my current money rituals? How are these rituals working for me now? Guidance from a mentor and community support are important parts of the prosperity practices. What I have discovered after almost a decade of acting as a spiritual money mentor is that spiritual seekers thrive when they receive specific spiritual teaching around financial issues. Having a mentor who is a specialist in money and spirituality has been valuable in helping people to create and sustain prosperity practices that work for them. The idea behind having community or social support or a group of like minded people to support you is that you have an outlet for sharing your inner journey with others. Support of a group means that each of us has other people in our lives with whom we are sharing our goals and celebrating steps with. That is so important, right? If there are others, it's not just to hold you accountable and fuss at you if you didn't save this week, or fuss at you because you bought something that maybe was outside of your budget. It's about having a group of people who are sharing your vision with you. And so she does go on in this section to talk about things you can do on a weekly basis, how to leverage the energy to save and the energy to spend, and being clear about your big why. And Karen Russo, if you're not familiar with her, her book, The Money Keys, and you can look her up on the internet, Karen Russo, Russo, The Money Keys, has a really good set of practices, including Money Focus Monday and Spiritual Faith Friday, that are specifically designed to help you stay in prosperity mindset. Okay, so I have a huge stack here, and there's no way I'm going to get through all of them. So at random, well, not quite at random, I've got Open Your Mind to Receive by Catherine Ponder, The Secret of Unlimited Prosperity by Catherine Ponder, You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, and Napoleon Hill's A Year of Growing Witch. Growing Witch. Yeah, can't talk. Napoleon Hill's A Year of Growing Rich, which I'm going to put on the side. And another Catherine Ponder, Dare to Prosper. If you don't know who Catherine Ponder is, maybe you just picked up that she is someone you might want to check out if you are working on your money consciousness. I can also highly recommend The Soul of Money, Transforming Your Relationships with Money and Life by Lynn Twist. Um, it's probably a good time for me to reread this because there's so much in this classic book about aligning your life choices and how you spend your time with your deepest beliefs about money. And so I remember reading this and getting an entirely different perspective about philanthropy and working in the community and how the soul of money as the soul of God, the soul of spirit in my actions, like I was infusing the soul of spirit into my actions. And sometimes it is about writing a check, but sometimes it's about, writing a check with my actions. Like, what's my time worth when I am giving it in outreach? And the organizations that I do invest in from a philanthropic point of view, that I am investing the energy of spirit into that in the same way I would be investing, cash money. So I highly recommend that book. I am going to probably move this to the top of my stack to read excerpts from during the next week. Creating Money, Keys to Abundance by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. John Randolph Price. I know some of you love the John Randolph Price 40 Days to Abundance Practice. I also love this little booklet, The Manifestation Process, 10 Steps to Fulfillment of Your Desires. Oh, you can see it some. But the three that I'm going to look at in the time that we have is Napoleon Hill's A Year of Growing Rich. And I love this one around prosperity and money because the subtitle, 52 Steps to Achieving Life's Rewards. So if you love Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, then you will also love A Year of Growing Rich, which goes from the principles that are in Think and Grow Rich to 52 steps. How many weeks are there in a year? You got it. So this book is designed that you would take one principle or one step at a time every week for a year. And I don't know, we're in April, so let's say we had 5 Sundays in January, we had 4 Sundays in February, we had 4 Sundays in March. So, and now we're 2 weeks into April. So let's see what week 15, and we might be in week 16, but don't be picky. Do not be picky. We're going to go to see what Napoleon Hill said for week 15. Now, interestingly enough, right, I you cannot make this stuff up. I have a few highlights as I thumb through, but there is only one place where I have the page folded down. Where does it happen to be? Week 15. The title of week 15 is Choose Your Goal. So in the context of A Year of Growing Rich, 52 Steps to Achieving Life's Rewards, choose your goal. You wouldn't think of beginning a long automobile trip without knowing where you were going and having a map to guide you. But only about 2 people in every 100 know precisely what they desire from life and have workable plans for attaining their goals. These are the men and women who are the leaders in every walk of life, the big successes who have made life pay off on their terms. The strangest thing about these people is that they have no more opportunities than others who have never made the grade. If you know exactly what you want and have absolute faith in your ability to get it, you can achieve success. If you are not sure what you want from life, start now, this very minute, and decide definitely what you want, how much of it you want, and when you want to have it in your possession. There is a precise 4-point formula for achieving your goals. And he goes on to give instructions of that formula. And later he says, remember, nothing ever just happens. Someone has to make things happen, including individual successes. Success in every calling is the result of definite action, carefully planned and persistently carried out by the person who conditions their mind for success and believes they will attain it. Last paragraph in this section. To be sure of success, saturate your mind completely with your goal. Think and plan about that which you desire. Keep your mind off that which you do not want. You have here the practical formula which all successful people follow. Now, that particular chapter is not specifically about money, except that I think the way we do anything is the way we do everything, right? In general. And so, what I realized, at the top of the show today, I shared, the example, my own example of realizing, wow, I've been working with this client for 3 months and I've never sent them an invoice. And now we're in month 4. I'm not being conscious, like I haven't chosen my goal. I'm just kind of leaving it to automatic. And that's really not going to lead me to a year of growing rich. Yes, he does talk about rich, not just in terms of money, but our mindset. And so, money, wealth, financial freedom, all of that. Like, what is the energy? And so, have I chosen clearly? Have I clearly chosen my goal around financial freedom, around wealth and prosperity? And maybe even if I've done that in the long term, have I been focusing on that for 2023? Actually, the answer is no. I have been going on automatic, on default. I'm not in any pain, but I haven't been really clear about the vision and then moving in a dedicated way toward that for this calendar year. So, of course, I'm busy doing the work. I totally forgot about billing the client. So, this is my reminder that what was the chapter title? Choose your goal. Choose your goal. And I have a really big, thick book, Wealth 101, Getting What You Want and Enjoying What You've Got. John Roger and Peter McWilliams. This was this book was a really big help for me 20 years ago. It's out of print now. It's, I'm sure, available in some used bookstores, but it's a book that probably unless I really downsize to a tiny house, I will probably keep on my bookshelves because it's not available anymore. In the book jacket, here's how it starts. This is not a book on buying real estate so that you can retire to Hawaii in 2 years with $5 million. This book goes beyond get rich quick schemes. It even goes beyond money. It is a book about wealth. What is wealth? We define wealth as health, happiness, abundance, prosperity, riches, loving, caring, sharing, learning, knowing what we want, opportunity, enjoying, and balance. All of that. And so this book, Wealth 101, explores in detail how to enjoy the life you already have. Wealth is not his that has it, but his that enjoys it. So there's a lot in this book about setting goals, but a lot also about appreciation and gratitude. And there are a lot of quotes on the left-hand side of every 2-page spread. There's an inspirational quotation. There were stickers that were included in the book. And then there was a lot of education. So, oh, what did my book open to? Ooh, forgiveness. Now, that could be a whole show in itself, how forgiveness is related to prosperity. Some people say that forgiveness is just unresolved debt, or that debt is unresolved, like unforgiveness. So, since we're down to about 5 minutes, I'm just going to read the first little part in this section titled Forgiveness. And remember, we're talking about building wealth. The word forgive is made up of two very nice words: for, to be in favor of, and give, to contribute, to supply, to endow. Each time we forgive, we affirm that we are in favor of giving. Do you just love that? I do. I just love that. And let's see how they end that section. Well, they end that section going into agreements. So I'm just going to leave it with that. The word forgive is made up of two very nice words: for, to be in favor of, and give, to contribute, to supply, to endow. Each time we forgive, we affirm that we are in favor of giving. And it's up to you to ask yourself, who do I need to forgive in order to increase my financial flow? How can forgiveness remove any emotional or energetic blocks that are blocking my financial flow? And the last author I want to highlight is the book I actually was going to go to the bookshelf to get, which is The Prosperity Aerobics by Carrie Bayer. Carrie Bayer has this little booklet that is so great, and it is prosperity aerobics, meaning or implying, as you might guess, that there are actions to take. So there's a chapter on affirmations, there's a mirror technique, how to transform envy, my mind affirmations, your personal money mantra, the mastermind, treasure maps, helpless day, forgiveness, the unexpected income prayer, daily success journal, discovery writing, on and on. There are 22 chapters. And in the last few, because he was trying to keep it into a small booklet, chapter 19 is 50 things you want to be, an activity where you identify 50 things you want to be, 50 things you want to do, is number 20. 21 is 50 things you want to have. And then the end of all of these activities is actually the beginning. So I am going to, it's hard for me to decide. I'm going to end the show today with Carrie Bayer's Unexpected Income Prayer. And I'm going to invite you to just take it in and see what gift it has for you. The following prayer has been used by many people, including myself, with wonderful and surprising results. It's best spoken out loud once or twice each day, and wonderful in groups dedicated to increasing prosperity. The Unexpected Income Prayer. I believe God is the source of all supply, and money is God in action and should be used for good. I believe my good is now freely flowing to me so bountifully I cannot use it all, and I have an abundance to spare and to share today and always. I am expecting unexpected income. I believe God is now giving this to me, and I accept this as truth and give thanks. All channels of financial supply are now open to me, and I am richly, bountifully, and beautifully prospered in every good way. I believe true prosperity includes the demonstration of right living conditions, right activity, and right kinds of happiness. This word, which I speak in faith, believing, now activates the law of increased universal good for me, and I expect to see rich results now. I visualize the financial good I expect. I see it coming to me richly and abundantly. I claim and accept it for myself now. I am grateful in advance. I bless all the good I now have, and I bless the increase. I bless all others in the Unexpected Income Program, and I know we are now all prospering together in every good way and share the good we receive. I now freely give my tenth to God's good work. My giving is making me rich. God gives to me rich, lavish financial blessings now. This is so now. I am grateful. Thank you. So that's our broad focus on money, wealth, prosperity, manifestation, financial freedom. And next week, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what it really means and how we can really solidify where we are standing in faith around our financial good. My name is Tracy Brown. So glad you joined Poetry, Prayer, and Practice today. And I hope to see you next Tuesday at noon Mountain Time, right here on the New Thought Media Network.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week, or watch on demand at www.ntmedia.org or youtube.com/New Thought Media Network. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. Learn more at www.ntmedia.org.